We've talked about, we've been using this chair, or I've been using this chair. This will be the last day you'll see this chair, except maybe at a summer picnic or something. But, we talked about this folding chair and how we're sitting it at the intersection of doubt. And we've learned that we can sit here and be willing, recognize that we're in this doubt about what we are here to do. That maybe we're really driven, and we know that this is our Dharma, but we're afraid. We're afraid to make that choice. And we're sitting here, and I said, the only thing we have to be able to do at this point is to be willing. Is to be willing to stand up and get out of this chair of doubt. And that's what we've done. We were able to stand up out of this chair, to pick it up, to fold it up, to set it aside, and to begin to take a step. And then to stride with humility and confidence right into the center of our Dharma. That's what we're talking about. And we had this pathway that we were following, and it started simply with accepting that you have a Dharma, right? Accepting. And the way we started to think about that was to see the largeness in the smallness. Remember that? To see the largeness in the smallness, to not discount whatever it is we're called here to do and be. Because I said before, we're not all going to be on the front page. We're not all going to have the Tony or the Emmy. All right, that's not what it's all about. It's not how the world sees us, but that we are living in true form according to what we are here to be. To realize that there's a largeness in the smallness, that we are a part of a big picture. And then the second thing we said was to live it on purpose, to do it full out, to live it as if we mean it, and not to try to hide it or make it something different. And then to fall in love with it. To actually love it so much that we don't really care if it works out in the world. But it's just the fact that we are doing what we do, that we fall in love with that, that's what it's all about. Regardless if the world sees us that way. And there are plenty of examples in Stephen Cope's book about famous people who, when they were here on earth, were not famous at all. They weren't famous at all until after they left. But they were so intent on living their Dharma, they knew exactly what they were here to be. And the final step was to turn it over to God. I told you it was my favorite step. To just give it up, to just realize, and what the teaching in the Bhagavad Gita is, to realize that I'm not even the doer. It's not even me that's the doer. It's the higher power, it's the God, it's the Spirit, whatever your name is, for that living me and breathing me. We think we're so separate and we have this humanness and we have to get it done, but really the final step is about giving it all over to God. It's an amazing step, and it's what gives us the courage to keep going forward. So let's return to this story of Arjuna and Krishna. That's where we started off with the Gita, and here is Arjuna, this man who is built to be a warrior. He is the warrior incarnate. And Krishna is his charioteer. Krishna is none other than God himself, or God herself. And he is on the chariot, his charioteer. Arjuna is about to engage in this amazing battle, and he tells his charioteer, bring me right into the middle of it, I want to take a look. And so Krishna drives the chariot right into the middle of the battlefield, and Arjuna looks around, he looks off to the right, and he looks off to the left. And on both sides, he sees his friends and his family and his cousins. And he sees all the people on both sides, the proverbial lightness and the darkness. He's right in the middle of this chaos, of this total disharmony with everything. And he looks around and he just can't do it. He cannot possibly engage in the battle. And he's like this, and he falls to the bottom of his chariot, and he says to Krishna, I cannot do it. I cannot engage in this battle. And that's where we started. That's where we started. And the whole idea is to take that on for ourselves, is sometimes that's how we feel about our own Dharma, our own holy calling, our own way of being. We are stuck at the intersection of doubt on our folding chair. That's the more contemporary way. We're done with the chariots, right? But we could have been on the floor of the chariot. We are immobilized by doubt, some of us. And that's where Arjuna finds himself. And so at the end here, after having gone through the wonderful teachings in the Gita, and we've done the same thing, Krishna says this. He said, and I'll say the same thing to you. So do you understand this teaching? Did you listen to what I was saying? Did you take it in? Are you confused? Have that confusion left you? Have you really got up, out of, and ready to stop seeing this blue folding chair? Are you ready? What we're really saying is, does this stuff work? You know, I tell you all the time that the stuff you hear here should be able to translate into your life. So the bottom line is, does this stuff really work? If I live according to my Dharma, will it save me? Will it save me? That's what we're talking about. Being saved. What does that even mean? Because looking out into the world from that chariot or that chair, it doesn't look like something that, like we'll be able to make that decision about following our holy purpose. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of indifference, despair, hopelessness, loneliness, depression, anxiety. Oh, there's a lot of that going around. Right? When we look out into the world, what we see out here, there's a whole field, in fact, of not enoughs. When we drive our chariot right into the middle, it's not enoughs all around us. But here's what I want you to know about Dharma. Is a whole idea of Dharma. I want to bring it down to right here. And that is that the Dharma is not only our gift that we have to give to the world, but it's a gift to us. Because living our Dharma will actually save us from all that stuff I just mentioned. It will save us from that. And how does that happen? It will give us what we need to overcome that. It will be the thing that we hang on to, that we can always go back to. It is where we will find wholeness and our essential nature. Always returning to that place. That's the power of Dharma. That is the gift that we have, and how we can find our way back to the divine over and over and over again. Even out of loneliness, even out of despair. That's what we can hang on to. That is the amazing power of Dharma. Do you get that? It will guide us. It will be what can catapult us into the future and into our amazing essential life and ground us at the same time. That's the power of Dharma. That's the power of us unfolding according to what we are created to be. Let me read you this from Stephen Covey. He says, I have come to believe that Dharma gives us the one thing we need to be fully human. Each of us must have one domain, one small place on this globe where we can fully meet life, where we can meet it with every gift we have. One small place where, through testing ourselves, we can know the nature of life and ultimately know ourselves. This domain is the one place that is uniquely ours. It is our work in the world. Not in the world, our work in the world. Our work in the world is for each of us, this immovable spot. The one place where we really have the opportunity to wake up. Because to know any part of the whole, intimately and deeply, is to know the whole. To know any part of the whole, intimately and deeply, our Dharma is to know the whole. And to know the whole is to know God. And to know God is to know love. And to know humility. And to know compassion and passion. And to know strength and courage. It's to know all that. I just got goosebumps everywhere. It's the truth. That's what we're talking about here. It's important. So, I bet you're wondering, as I was wondering, or maybe you're not, does Arjuna actually fight the battle? Does Arjuna actually fight in that battle? Here he is on his chariot between these two parties, doubting. But after all this time, with Krishna, with God as his guide, you know what? He's changed. He's changed. That's what happens when you grow spiritually. You don't even look at the battle the same anymore. And that's what happened to Arjuna. He's not even looking at the battlefield the same as it was. He's elevated in his way of seeing and being. He's seeing something more than just what's before his eyes. So here's what Arjuna says to Krishna when he says, have you learned it? Are you ready? What is it? How do you go forward from here? And Arjuna returns Krishna's gaze with a faint smile, and he feels a wave of gratitude wash over him. And he says, you have dispelled my doubts and delusions, and I understand through your grace. My faith is firm now, and I will do your will. Arjuna is no longer paralyzed by doubt. He is ready to move back in action, but it will be now an action with a difference. It will be action guided by the force of the inner divine. It's a shift, you see. It's a shift. Instead of seeing all this out here and being confused, it's a shift. And the battle really isn't the battle out here, folks. It's really not the battle out here. The battle out here becomes a way to engage in the ultimate battle, the battle of life, the battle of getting away from the idea that we're separate from God. That's the battle we all have, because we think we are. Like I said, we're in the field of not good enoughs. How could I possibly be that? And you are. And that is, my friends, the ultimate battle. The battle is to know who we are. To know that we are an expression of God. You will know what to do when you know who you are. When you know and believe from your soul what it is you are here to be. There is no doubt about what you will do. Whew. Let me tell you a story about the importance of being who you are. This is a story that I found on NPR StoryCorps rather. Some of you listen to that. And this is a conversation a 12-year-old and his mother were on in this particular episode. Kason Ford just finished 5th grade in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, when he started using the he/him pronouns. It was about that time that he started to tell his friends that he was transgender. He didn't know that term up until now. He says, growing up every day it was misery. Every day it was misery. When people called him a girl or his parents called him their daughter, he just squirmed like this. He said it was a relief when he attended art camp one time, and because he was dressed like a boy, they started using the he and him pronouns, and he felt this freedom come up in himself. He said, they just called me a he, and that was awesome. That was awesome. They also talked about his happiest moment, and he remembers it this way. He said it was January 16th, 2015, 8:45 p.m. Kason told his mom, you bought me boxer pants. That was his most amazing moment, because he'd been telling his mom that he wanted boxer shorts. He was wearing all boy clothes, and that was the thing that was his happiest moment in life up to that point. His mother said, I have been telling to him, I have been extremely proud of you because you have been true to who you are, and you're very courageous. And he says this, it shouldn't be scary to be who you are. I mean, maybe a little bit at first, but it's way happier that way. Trust me. I mean, let's take this advice from a 12-year-old who knows that to be true to who and what you really are, to do and be what you are created to be, might be a little scary at first. But in the end, it's way happier. In the end, it's way happier. So I say we need to stop struggling against the world. You know, we need to find our place in it and make it beautiful. wherever that is. We need to be all we can be for whatever is coming alive in us. The great battle, really, is to be perfectly you in your exquisite imperfection. And me too. Here's the way Stephen Cope talks about this. He said, we need to release the awful burden of wanting to be special. I love that. We need to release the burden of wanting to be special, of wanting to be better, of wanting to experience every possible adventure in life, of wanting to be our expanded self. He says, oh, for God's sake, it's just too damn much to be my expanded self. Why can't I just be my normal self? Why can't we just do that? Thomas Merton says it this way, we are not called to everything. We are just called to what we're called to. What a relief. What a relief, my friends. There is no dharma that's too small or insignificant. Only the one that's not lived. I've said that to you before here. Show up. Live it. Breathe it. And let that take you back to the divine over and over and over again. What a relief. So let's take these ideas into our meditation this afternoon. Thank you, Arjuna. Thank you, Krishna. Yes, please join Kushan if you so desire. Thank you, Stephen Cope. Thank you, Thomas Merton. Thank you, all the stories that are in this book, from Harriet Tubman to John Keats to Walt Whitman, and so many others that I've shared with you over the time that we've been together. Thank you to all of them for showing us the way with deep gratitude during this season of gratefulness. Breathing in and breathing out. To feel the relief. To feel the sweet ecstasy of being exactly what we are created to be. No more, no less. Exquisite in our imperfection. Joyful in it also. Letting it lead us back to the divine over and over and over again.
Namaste. And oh, namaste. Oh, namaste. And oh, namaste. And oh, namaste. And oh, namaste. And oh, namaste. Namaste.
Show me. Open me up. Wide open. Allow me to know the truth, to see clearly, to be gentle and willing. Show me. Show me the magnificence. Let me feel you in me and through me. Let me feel whole and worthy. Let me live my highest calling. Let me be all that I've come here to be. Let me create the room for you to move.